We are very lucky to have Ellen White joining us today. She has over 10 years experience in facilitating ResourceSmart Schools. She was the coordinator in the Loddon Mallee region and is here to share all her wealth of knowledge with you today. So I suggest that if you have any questions, that you pop it in the chat and I will be the annoying interrupter for you. I will stop Ellen in her tracks and I'll ask all the questions and cluster them. And perhaps if you want to ask them yourself, we'll wait till the end and we'll have dedicated question time as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ellen White. Take it away.
Thanks a lot, Nicole, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for popping along to the workshop this afternoon to learn more about ResourceSmart Schools. I'm just sharing my screen with you. Can you all see the PowerPoint presentation that's coming up?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. Hopefully it will. There we go. Okay, now, let's do that. So what we are going to cover today, and we will finish by 5 o'clock because I know that you've all got lots of other things that you want to do, is we'll have a very brief overview of the ResourceSmart Schools Program because there are a couple of people here who are new to the program. We'll look at baseline data, entering bills into the system, student action teams, and the sustainability education support that is locally available. If there was anything else that you thought you might like to get out of today, as Nicole said, you can pop that into the chat and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can on the way. So first of all, ResourceSmart Schools is a programme that's funded by state government through Sustainability Victoria that supports schools to embed environmental sustainability into everything that it does. So that's the operational side of the school, you know, your classrooms, the electricity that you use, the water that you use, the paper that you use and all those kind of things, plus how you manage waste and use energy. The curriculum, obviously teaching and learning in all its forms. The school community, and that is everyone that is involved in the school, which is the teachers and the students and the gardeners and the cleaners and the canteen staff and even the parents and other carers of the students at your school as well. And ultimately, with all of those things combined, that does lead into the culture of a school. So ResourceSmart Schools is about embedding it so that it's sustainability so that it becomes part of the culture of the school. The programme itself is a framework that guides schools through their sustainability journey. There isn't a manual that schools can start at number 1 and finish at number 100 and then have achieved everything that there is to achieve. Every school is unique, and so the school determines its own pathway on how it's going to do it. But of course, part of the framework, there are a number of modules. There's 5 modules, and I've got them listed there, that basically cover the main resources that schools use or can be involved in that are going to improve environmental sustainability, whether it's within the school grounds or spilling out into the community surrounding the school as well. As part of the programme, there's also the 5-star reward system. So as schools move through modules, they receive a star for each module that they complete, up to and including 5 stars. By the time a school reaches 5 stars, it's not just 5 modules that they have completed, but it is demonstrating that they are showing leadership, not only within the school, but within their community and with other schools as well, and sharing their knowledge and ideas on how they have embedded sustainability. And some schools like to get their star reward systems, and they can put a nice sign up on the school fence or inside the reception area of the school just to show off how well they're doing. There's also the ResourceSmart Schools Awards, which are held annually. And there's a number of different categories of awards, ranging from student action teams to teacher of the year to biodiversity school of the year and so on. A whole lot of different ways that you can showcase and demonstrate to your community how you're embedding sustainability. And of course, one of the most important things for all schools is how to do things. We know that schools are often being asked to do over and above what they were doing 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. And it can put pressure onto individual teachers, individual schools. And so through Sustainability Victoria, organisations like the one that Nicole works for, the Environmental Education Victoria, get some funding so that they can provide free support to schools in the region that they are covering to support them through the programme and help them with the online system that is available free of charge for schools to track their progress and to help them to develop their projects, their policies, their plans, whatever it may be as part of that framework. So, you know, that's a very brief overview of ResourceSmart Schools, but that is, in a nutshell, what the programme is and what it is all about. So when a school starts the ResourceSmart Schools programme, what we like them to start with is a gathering of their baseline data. You know, it's okay saying, oh, we want to reduce the waste in our school. Well, let's think about how much waste are you producing and how much do you think you should have, and how does that compare with what other schools are doing or other organisations in the community. So gathering your own baseline data is a really good starting point because it will let you see exactly how much waste you're making, how much energy you're using, how much water you're using, how much paper you're using, and what impact, if any, you're having on the local biodiversity. You know, do you participate in tree planting days, for example? And once you've gathered that baseline, then you can compare that with the state average, which has been set for both primary and secondary schools, and we can provide the details of what those averages are. But you will then be able to see, you know, for example, if you are producing 1 cubic metre of waste per student per year, and the benchmark, not the state average, the benchmark is 0.3 cubic metres of waste to landfill per year, then you can see that you're, you know, quite a bit above what the benchmark might be. So by knowing where you're starting from and where perhaps you should be, then you can start to plan how you're going to reduce the amount of waste that you produce and reach that benchmark or below the benchmark if you can. And there are benchmarks that are there for each of those things that I've mentioned, the energy, waste, water, and biodiversity. So the baseline is really important. And the way that we get the baseline is doing a couple of things. There's audits that we ask schools to do, you know, a waste audit, a litter audit. So look inside the bins and see how much waste is being produced. Are the bins always full when they're going out? Is there things in the rubbish bin that could be in the recycle bin? All of those kind of things are will be part of a waste audit. There's also a litter audit. Is there litter in the schoolyard? How is that dealt with? Where does it come from? Is it from the students or is it from somewhere else? How much electricity are you using? Electricity is a really good one because people get their electricity bill in and they think it's really high, but when you actually look at how much you're using and compare that with the benchmark, quite often in schools you'll find that it is quite high, but there's a lot of wastage. And when you think about leaving lights on or heaters on or air conditioners on when there's no one in the room, that's really quite a waste of electricity. So you can actually see at a glance how easy it would be to reduce your electricity use and therefore the cost of electricity. Now, once you've got your baseline, we don't ask you to stop there. We ask you to continue to enter that data into the online system that all ResourceSmart schools have access to. And that helps you to track your resource use over time. So you've got your baseline, and you know your baseline for all of those resources perhaps are up here. And then a year later, you might find, because you've been entering your bills regularly and trying to reduce your resource use, that it has come down a wee bit. But you will only be able to track that if you put the information in. So there is, for those of you who are fairly new to the system, I'll just show you what the online system is and how easy it is to actually enter this information that I've been talking about. I'll just be doing a very quick demonstration, but when Nicole do get to your school one day, they will be able to, oh, where is it? They will be able to show you this in a bit more detail, what I'm about to show you. Hang on, I think I need to stop sharing and then I can go back. Can't find it. Oh, I need to come out of that one. Sorry, I'll just get there. And then I'll, oops, this is a bit awkward. I can't find, sorry, Nicole, I can't find the screen. Maybe it's on that one. No, it's not that one. It must be in that one. Ah, hang on, I've got it. Move that and we'll go into that one.
Yeah.
Right, can you see?
Yes.
We got it?
Yeah, thank you.
Right, sorry about that. Right, okay, so baseline data is about entering your bills. When you have your own login, you will come into the system. This is what it looks like here. You'll see your own school name there. And to enter your baseline data, you just go into bills. So we click on bills, the screen will open up. And if you have never entered a bill before, you do need to actually set up an account. So you scroll down, click on add an account. Before you do all this, of course, it is worthwhile going to talk to your business manager and asking for this information. And they can provide that information in the form of the bills themselves, or they might be willing, if you ask them nicely, to actually set up these accounts themselves. But that will be a conversation, and we can talk about that in a little while. But that's a conversation that you do need to have with the leadership team and with the business manager themselves or the office manager. So if you want to set up an electricity account, for example, you just click in here, choose electricity, choose whoever your provider is, write in your account number, your billing period. Some schools have their electricity bill monthly, some have it quarterly, but you would find that out from the bill itself. You might, if you've got more than one electricity meter, you might wish to give each one a name that identifies it. So for example, the Creek Street meter or the primary junior meter or something like that, so that you can easily identify it. And then the starting date for the bills. In order to get baseline data, you really need to have 12 months of billing data entered into the system. So if you're starting just now, you could start in January 21, or if you had access to last year's bills, you could start in January 2020. But whatever month you decide that you're starting from, you do need to have a full 12 months before you actually know what your baseline data is. So that is something to consider. So you choose your starting date. Let's just make it 2020. And you don't choose your closing date because you're not closing this. And then submit. Okay, I better choose one, I suppose. And once you submit, then your electricity bill account has actually been set up. So when you come to enter a bill, and we'll say we'll add a new bill, it is important when you're looking at a bill that first of all, choose the right one, and then look at the date. Now, I know it says invoice date here, and I think Nicole will agree with me that it should actually say billing period date, right? Because what you want to put in, what you want to enter here is the data for that particular billing period. So for that particular month that electricity bill is for. Not the invoice date when it was sent out to you, not the date that you're entering it, but the actual date that it was set up for. So let's say, for example, we want to choose January 2021. And it will come up with this screen, and you just write in the bill total, which let's say is $430.25. On the back of the bill, there will be information that tells you how much electricity was used during peak times and how much was used during off-peak times. So you put those figures in there, and I'm just making them up randomly. And in this section here, if your school is purchasing green power, then you would put the percentage of green power that you're purchasing. It will tell you on the bill whether or not you're doing that, but your business manager again will be able to clarify that for you because they will have the actual contract and can tell you things like that. And that's all you need to do is enter those three figures. You can put a note in there, you know, if that bill was particularly high, you can say that it covers a longer period than usual, or there were tradespeople in doing some work over the summer months, and so, you know, that's why the bill is high. If there's something that you have to explain, then you write it in the notes there, and then submit. And that's it, the bill is added successfully. And it's nice to get that thumbs up there, as it says. So then if we go back to bills and back to the first screen that we saw, we can see here is the electricity account that we set up. Here is the timeline from when we started, January 2020, and this is the bill that we have just entered. And you can see that it is green, and green means that the bill has been entered correctly. Oops, we don't need to do another one there. The bill has been entered correctly, and it doesn't appear that there's anything wrong with it. If you get any of these other colors here, then you know that you've either put more than one bill in the same month, and that might be an issue, or it looks like something has been entered wrong. You know, sometimes you put an extra zero or the decimal point is in the wrong place, and so the system thinks, have you done this correctly? So it's not foolproof completely, but it really is very helpful in letting you know what's what. And these other colors, the pale blue means that there's a bill due to come in. If it's this color, orangey red color, then it means those bills are missing. And the yellow one means that the bill is due to be entered. So if we see if everything is green, if everything is orange, rather, we know that there's an awful lot of bills that need to be entered. But if everything is green, everything is hunky-dory. And then once you have a whole lot of bills in, we're not going to go and see this today, but you are then able to go and look at reports, and those reports will tell you, show you graphs of how much you're using over time. And it's a really good way, visual way of showing whether your electricity or other resource use is going up or going down. Does anyone have any questions about that? It's a wee bit rushed, but that's basically what it is about.
Sorry, Ellen. Hayden asks about backdating. Did you want to elaborate on that question, Hayden?
Well, yeah, I was kind of answered in the chat about not using last year's data as a baseline, because we're sort of setting ourselves up to fail, because it'd be hard to compete with 6 months of data when no one's there. But I was just wondering about to do the core module with 2019's data as a baseline, and just how accurate the waste one would be, because we could measure, we'd know how much we paid for in terms of rubbish collection, but not necessarily how much we actually threw away.
Look, last year was definitely an anomaly, as we all know, and regardless of whether you use last year's data as a baseline or use the previous year's, is a discussion I would probably have with Nicole, depending on the circumstances of your school. But I know that from Sustainability Victoria's perspective, that they're quite happy to not write off 2020, but to recognise that there are glitches because of schools being closed for 6+ months last year. So it is useful to actually continue. And I'll give you another reasons why it is still useful to have last year's data in there, is because some of the contracts that schools have, depending what it's for, maybe not electricity, because that really is a user pays, for the amount that you're using, but some of the contracts, for example, for landfill or even recycling, you're going to pay the same amount every month, regardless of how much waste is being collected. And so if you have a 3-meter skip and the contract is that gets collected every week, then you will get charged for that every week, regardless of there was any waste in it or not. And so by collecting all that data, you can see that, well, hang on, we weren't there for those 2 months, so there was no waste being put into the skip, but we were still being charged as though we were still there. So it actually helps you to think about, okay, well, should we look at our contract, and is there any changes that we should make? Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And quite a lot of our schools over the last 8 or 9 years have actually successfully renegotiated a lot of their contracts, just because they've seen that, oh, hang on a minute, we're getting these skips collected twice a week when probably only need them collected once a month. And so it's immediately reduced the cost to the school.
I'm just going to ask it. Hi, Ellen. This is Kasia from Footscray City. So is it right to say that we're tracking the monetary value of costs rather than, actually how much waste that we, put out?
You're tracking both. You will actually be tracking both, because if I just show you one of the waste, I think this should open up. You can see the bill total, and you can also see the usage as well. So for a month, you would write in there how many meters cubed of waste is going to landfill. This one is specifically for landfill, as it says there.
Sorry, this will be.
So it's important to track both.
How do we know this might be a stupid question, but how do we know how many meter cube it is per month? How do we find that data?
Right. A couple of ways. If your school puts all of its landfill into a skip bin, and that's how your waste is taken to landfill, then it will actually tell you on the invoice from the waste company how much there is. If you have curbside bins that are picked up by council, then usually landfill bins are 120 litres. So, you know, if you have 10 of them, then that's 1.2 meters cubed. And there's no such thing as a silly question, so keep throwing them at me if you want to.
No, thank you. Yeah.
I have another one, but I think I might wait to the end because I feel.
Okay. Are there any other questions about bills or accounts? I mean, that again, that was a very quick demonstration of setting up an account and entering a bill. But that is one of the great things about working with Nicole and Nicole, is that they can support you to set them up properly the first time and show you how to read the actual bill itself and enter the figures. And you know, you can teach students to do this, and we'll talk about the student action team in a little while, but you can do it yourself. You could teach students to do it. Or sometimes the office staff just think, you know, if I have my own login and I'm dealing with the bills, then I can just enter it straight in and then file that bill away. And so that saves you a job as well, but you've got the information there, which is really nice. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions about that, we might move on to, that one. Go back to our presentation. Where's the mouse gone? I've lost the mouse. Done it again, haven't I? I've knocked us out. Here we go. Okay, so that was your baseline data. So the billing data, just to finish off that wee bit, all of the bills that you need, electricity, gas, water, landfill. So some schools have both skips and curbside bins, or they have one or the other. Recycling, again, you might have a skip for paper and cardboard, and you might have curbside bins. And paper, so A4 paper, the white paper that you put into the printers and photocopiers as well. And the other really important thing, I didn't show you this setting up this account, but again, it's very similar to the others. If your school has solar panels, it's important to measure the generation as well and enter the generation data from the inverter into one of those accounts. I know you're not paying for it, but tracking how much electricity you're making from your solar panels does help you to see how much you're offsetting your electricity use as well. It's really worthwhile doing that, and it helps. Having solar panels does help you to reduce the carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases that your school is producing. So the generation data is really important as well. Some schools do have a portal on the web where they can see their generation data live. Other schools have lost the login details and so on for that. So you go to the inverter and you can read it directly from there. But again, you know, there are experts in the field, or maybe someone else in the school who will be able to show you how to read the inverters if you don't already know. But that's an important one as well. So those are the kind of bills that we need. Try and move on. Oops. Go next slide. Come on. There we go. Nope, we've done that. done that. So, student action teams was the next subject that we were going to talk about. At the beginning, I said that ResourceSmart Schools was all about embedding sustainability right across everything in the school, including the curriculum and the school community. So it is important that students are actually involved in ResourceSmart Schools program itself and have an opportunity to contribute to whatever the school is doing to reduce their environmental footprint and greenhouse gas production. So involving the students in the school sustainability activities can be done in a whole lot of different ways. And the term that is used within the ResourceSmart Schools program is student action teams. You can call them whatever you like. I've seen green magpies and green thumbs and climate warriors, you know, like, so there's a whole lot of, there's an opportunity for everybody to be creative in what you call your student action team, or you just call it a student action team. But having a student action team helps the students to develop their own ideas and put forward their own ideas of how to be more sustainable once they have a bit of an understanding about environmental sustainability. So there does need to be, you know, some encouragement and lesson planning with the teachers in order to start developing the students, or a lot of the students might come in already got lots of ideas, but a student action team will help them to develop up their ideas and also develop their leadership skills, because being part of the student action team means that they have to engage other students in the school as well. So it's a really good way to encourage a broad range of students and activities. And quite often you will find that a lot of the young people who put their hand up to be part of the student action team are often not interested in, you know, being the sports leader or being the debating team leader or something. They are really interested in sustainability or some other thing. So it helps to engage a whole lot of other students that may not have otherwise been engaged in leadership opportunities within the school as well. And the student action team can be a really great driver of change within the school. And I've seen a lot of schools where, you know, there are lots of kids who want to be part of the SAT, and so there is an application process for them to get through, so that it's the kids who are actually going to do something that get onto the student action team, or the ones who will be engaging, or, you know, you might have a diverse range of skills on it. Some of the students might be really interested in, especially if you're from a secondary school or the upper primary, they might be really interested in putting information onto the system, or in putting sustainability news into the school newsletter, or in delivering presentations to the whole school assembly about what, you know, what the student action team is up to, or what achievements the whole school is actually making. So, you know, there's a whole lot of activities that the students could be doing, and I'll share some of those with you. But and there are many ways that you can set up a student action team, but I think it is important as a first step to talk to the leadership team within the school, you know, the principal, assistant principal, or depending how big your school is, you know, faculty leaders and so on. It is important to talk to them and for everyone to be in agreement of what it is that you actually want to achieve with the student action team, because it is possible that you will require some resources. Those resources could be, you know, a teacher having a time allocation a week so that they can support the student action team, you know, maybe an hour over a couple of lunch times or something. Or it could be that the students want to do a project that takes some money, and so they have to do fundraising or apply for a grant, and there's lots of grants out there. Places like Bunnings and other local community organisations or businesses or council often have grants available for projects, simple projects that the students might want to set up, like making a frog bog in a wet patch in the school grounds, or establishing a veggie garden, or one of my schools actually did a whole fundraising to get a 5 kV solar panel system on their roof, and it was the students that raised that money. You know, so there's a whole lot of things that the students might want to do. Trigonina South Primary School, that's a school that's in your area, in the Western Metro region, and they're a 5-star school. In 2019, they were the Student Action Team of the Year, Teacher of the Year, in the ResourceSmart Schools Awards, because it was recognised the whole lot of things that they were doing had come from the students themselves. You know, students were concerned about rubbish in the schoolyard, so that led them to all have a chat about, you know, what can we do about this? Well, maybe we can pick up the rubbish. So then they started picking up the rubbish, and then that led to other ideas and projects and so on. And that builds its own momentum and helps the school to achieve progress across each of the modules. You'll often find that one project that the Student Action Team or the school is doing, it might, for example, frog bog in a wet patch in the school grounds. You might think, well, that's a biodiversity project, but it might tick off a couple of actions in the water module as well. It might deal with some waste problems, you know, rubbish that gets caught in the wet ground. It will certainly deal with biodiversity and so on. And so you can see that, you know, one project could actually tick off 8, 10 or more actions across all of the modules. And it also helps teachers to incorporate those kind of projects into teaching and learning activities within the curriculum. You know, if you know that, well, the students want to build a frog bog, so we have to go and learn why, you know, why are frogs important? And so, you know, they might do inquiry units, for example, to find out why frogs are important, and then another inquiry unit of what you can do to support the frogs to survive, and so on. So I'll just show you, again, I'll stop this share and then I'll do a new share to show you what Trigonina have done. Where is it? It's lost. I'll go back into this one. I've lost it again. No, hang on. There we go. Can you see that? It says sustainability at the top?
Yes.
Yep. So this is, if you go into Trigonina South Primary School website and scroll down on the left-hand column to sustainability, I'm not going to read through all this, but there's about, I think it's 5 or 7 pages of information about what the Student Action Team and others in the school have actually done that allow them to not only become a 5-star school, but to win those awards, as I said. And some of their projects have been a war on waste that started out because of rubbish in the school, which led to nude food days, which, you know, have led to a whole lot of other initiatives on keeping the yard clean. And students are actually rewarded for picking up rubbish. Not every student, but, you know, someone's picked out of the hat each week if they've been really good at picking up rubbish. There are incursions. We'll talk more about incursions and support that's out there for people who don't feel that they have the expertise or the knowledge or skills to deliver all of this in the classroom as well. You know, things like solar panels and electricity production is beyond a lot of us. but there are people out there who can actually help. The students are involved in Clean Up Australia Day, particularly the 5/6s, helping the local community. National Tree Day is a really great way to get involved in biodiversity projects. Boomerang bags, this was an initiative of their green team and the visual art teacher. So it's not just science or geography or, you know, those kind of subjects that help you to introduce sustainability into the classroom. All subjects can be involved. In fact, there was a school that I worked with who was studying China, and so they actually looked at pollution in the Yellow River. And, you know, that really led to a whole lot of discussion about United Nations Development Goals and how sustainability is a climate change is a global issue, pollution is a global issue, and how nations can work together. So, you know, it brings home a whole lot of different subjects as well. Boomerang bags is a lovely one. If you haven't heard of it, have a look at boomerang bags. And then, of course, there's the lovely recycling, composting, and worm farming, and students making up their own posters and things of what they should be doing or could be doing. And this school did develop its own frog bog because the kids were worried about the expansion of housing and other infrastructure encroaching on wetlands. And so, you know, they've given the Pobblebronk frog somewhere to live on their school, and they're really, really proud of that as well. And then there's leadership opportunities going along to the Extinction Fighters program, for example, at the zoo, or the Kids Teaching Kids Conference, which is all about water and held every year. And then other opportunities for vegetable gardening, which vegetable gardening itself is really good, but that also leads into other opportunities to talk about healthy eating and to introduce cooking and healthy cooking. And you know, if your school is a Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden school, then, you know, that really complements a whole lot of the ResourceSmart Schools actions as well. And then, of course, there's always the opportunity to go into competitions, awards, and if you've got a school environment management plan, and you should have if you're a ResourceSmart school, you should be developing that, then you can use that to help you to apply for grants as well. So that's a very brief overview of what Trigonina have actually done. So I'll go back to this one again. So in your school, setting up in your school, you know, as I said before, think about what your action team will actually do. What year levels will be able to participate. Some schools have all year levels participating, and other schools just decide on particular years, especially the upper years. And how will the student action team engage with the other students and also with the staff from and the ResourceSmart Schools coordinator in the school as well. So do what works for your school. And yep, this is a sample application form, and Nicole is going to share these slides with you, so you'll be able to see that. But there's a whole lot of different kinds of application forms that you can use to explain, you know, what the green team will do and to get the students to apply themselves. And some schools, as I said, they actually have a whole lot of students who apply for the sustainability position. It doesn't always mean that they get to go outside and turn compost or build veggie gardens, but it's a really good, turning compost is a really good activity for some of those students who've got a lot of energy and need to get outside a fair amount of the time. Oh, Winters Flat Primary School, sorry, that previous application form is from Muralbark Primary School, and Winters Flat Primary School also have an application form, but they have all of their student leaders, they've divided them into 3 leadership groups, as it explains there. And even though there is a group called Sustainability Leaders that care for the environment, you can see that the other, each of those leadership teams do intertwine with each other, and each of them will be able to contribute to achieving sustainability goals. And in the ResourceSmart Schools Awards booklets, which are available on the Sustainability Victoria website, I just picked out a few examples of other schools that have had finalists, Student Green Team or Student Action Team finalists in the awards, so that you can see the kind of different kind of things that different schools can get into, what they can do. Okay, now, sorry, we might need to keep moving on here. Now, ResourceSmart Schools can seem a bit overwhelming, especially if you're new to it, because you think, oh, how can I do all of this, there is no time frame for it, but it is good if you can start achieving things within a couple of years. But very few of us have knowledge right across energy, wastewater and biodiversity to the extent where we, really know what we're doing and how to do things. A little knowledge does go a long way, but you actually don't need to do everything on your own, because there's lots of other people out there who have expertise or who may have a bit more experience than you have in growing veggies, or measuring the data from an inverter, or putting in watering systems so that you're reducing the amount of water that you use on your school grounds, and so on. And those people might be other staff members. So talk to the other people in your school, the other staff members in your school, teachers, gardeners, cleaners, canteen supervisors, whoever. Talk to other people in your school about what you're trying to achieve, what the school is trying to achieve, and see, someone might have a passion for growing veggies, or there might be a parent or a grandparent or a carer who has a passion for, something else, or for worm farming or composting or whatever, who is willing to come in and help and, work with you, work with the students. There may be local businesses as well, who are willing to, as I said before, give you grants or supply some materials if you may need them. Might be trees for growing for National Tree Day or something like that. Finding these people outside of your school can be a bit tricky. That expertise is there, but how do you know where to look? And so one of the really great things that the Western Metro region has is a directory of sustainability educators and supporters in the region. And I will just do this again. I'll do a new share and show you what it looks like. Where is it? Where is it? Disappeared. Here it is, here. This directory has a whole list. It's not exhaustive at all. It's got quite a lot of information in it, but it is bang up to date, and it has information, basic information about the programme, about what Eve can do for you. It has both Nicole's email addresses and the ResourceSmart Schools website, some links to leading schools in the Western Metro region that you might want to look up, and there are school stories on the Eve website as well that provide quite a lot of inspiration. But then, what we've done is divided the expertise section into different areas, so that to try and make it easy for you to find out what expertise is available for you in your school, in your area. So many local governments have environmental programs that they deliver into schools or can support schools through and so on. So there are all, each of the local government areas in the Western Metro region are listed here. If you're not sure which local government area your school is in, then you just need to click on that link and put in the postcode or the address of the school, and it will tell you your local government area. In this section here is the kind of services and activities that they support. There's the contact details, so you don't need to go looking for them. The contact details are there with both email and telephone if possible, and then the website link, so you can have a wee look and see what actually is available. Some of the links are to websites, some of them are to social media. So there's Brimbank, Hobson's Bay. Hobson's Bay also has an Enviro Centre, which is part of the library system. So, you know, the library system, what a great way to have all sorts of information. Maribyrnong City Council, Melbourne, Melton, Moonee Valley and Wyndham. So they're all listed there. There's then a whole lot of statewide agencies that can provide expertise and programs and ideas and incursions and excursions into schools. So places like Parks Victoria, and in your region, you've got so many programs, after school programs, school holiday activities, incursions and excursions in your region. So, you know, if you can, some of these may be worthwhile using. It's also worth, you know, telling other people about them as well, so that, you know, school holiday activities, parents could be putting their kids into the Junior Ranger program, for example, and they're learning stuff outside of school as well, which is also going to be useful. Water authorities, in your region you have 3 water authorities, and each of them deliver a whole range of really great education programs and have great videos and activities and teacher notes and all sorts of curriculum activities for you to use. And they will, some of them will do incursions as well, and you may even be able to do excursions, for example, around a water treatment plant, which is really useful. Melbourne museums, places like Science Works and the museum have a whole lot of things as well. Zoos Victoria, the Botanic Gardens and EcoLink. And then you may have heard the term citizen science quite a lot in the past few years. It's certainly gained momentum, or even though it's been around for a long, long time. But things like the River Detectives Programme and Water Watch and Backyard Birds, Counting Backyard Birds, or the School Bird Programme, they're all citizen science programmes, and it's a really great way to get young people involved in nature, involved in learning about biodiversity and understanding the importance of caring for the environment. And so there's a whole range of citizen science programs and organisations that can actually help you through that. And this association here lists citizen science projects that go across the whole country. So you would be able to pop in there and see if there was something useful in your area that you could get your students involved in. And then there's actually a whole range of sustainability education providers who will do incursions and excursions. So places like Ceres Education, located in East Brunswick, deliver a whole range of programs. The Eco Centre, the Farmers Place, and of course Environmental Education Victoria, and yeah, a whole range of different organisations. Now that directory, which I've just showed you, it will be available on the EVE website later this week. Hopefully it won't go out of date very quickly, but you know, maybe mid-year it might get updated again. But if you think, I'm sure if there's something that you're looking for, you should be able to find it within that directory. But if not, then you can certainly ask Nicole, and Nicole as well, to put you in the right direction. But again, you know, I always come back to, if there is there may be expertise within your school, whether it is within the staff of the school, or the parents and friends of the school, or people within your local community, you know, it's worthwhile talking to them first. Almost every primary school has a parent who is a plumber or an electrician, and they're often happy to lend their expertise and talk to you about, you know, things that are going to be useful, like watering systems or solar panels, or, you know, looking for ways to reduce that electricity bill, which might be having split systems or reverse cycle air conditioners or something like that, depending on what your school needs are. So, hang on. We've done that. And I think we have a few minutes left, Nicole, do we, to take any questions that there may be?
Yeah, I've got a couple of minutes there, Ellen. Thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you. I'm happy to take questions from anyone.
Yeah, maybe stop sharing so we can see everyone's
Oh,
face.
right, okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So I think someone
Bamboozled you all too much and there's no questions.
was it you, Gabrielle, that said you had a question for at the end?
Yes, but it got answered, which is nice. Thank you.
Fabulous.
That's nice.
The directory that Ellen showed at the end, I can send out to you all, yeah, as in a package email with Ellen's presentation as well.
Nicole and Ellen, I just have a quick question. You sort of have covered off some of the resourcing. The biggest challenge I've got with our school at the moment, I'm a parent at the school, but I'm having trouble getting the actual someone from inside the school in a sort of business manager role to provide support. They're really supportive of doing the program, but it's just understanding how much is involved, and I'm trying to break it down and make it really simple for them, and try and, you know, reassure them that we're going to take it on from the parents' perspective. But is there anything you can sort of, any advice you can give that I can sort of pass on to the business manager that will help calm their fears?
Want me to answer? I can answer that in a couple of ways, Nicole, if that's okay. Look, it is a really good question, Louise, because you know, the school might be saying, oh yeah, let's go ahead and do this, but, you know, then won't allocate the resources that are required in order to do it. And I think actually sitting down with the principal is really important, but also, are you in the school council?
No, I sort of wanted to put my efforts into this, and I probably should have gone in via the school council, but we've got someone on school council who is a really strong conduit for this program. Yeah.
I would definitely get that person to bring it up at school council and try and make a commitment. There's also a memorandum of understanding. Nicole, do you still use them? That the school can enter into with Eve, so that, you know, and that really breaks it down. If it's anything like what I remember, it really breaks it down into those little chunks, as you were saying, that says, this is what we will do and this is what you will do. And so everyone has a little bit of an idea of what is actually involved. But I know of a school in the Loddon Mallee region where it was parents who actually drove this. It's a small school, and so the teachers were busy teaching and doing, you know, all the other things that teachers do as well. And so the parents said, well, we really want to get this embedded. So the parents drove it. Obviously, they still had to have teachers incorporating it into the curriculum and teaching and learning activities, but it was the parents who actually drove it. So Nicole, it would be worthwhile looking that school up. I can tell you it's Malmesbury Primary School.
Malmesbury, yep.
Malmesbury. So Nicole can probably talk to Debbie in the Loddon Mallee region and get some details from her and pass it on to you, Louise, because then
Okay, thank
if
you.
there's other people out there doing something that you want to do that, you know, don't reinvent the wheel. That's what this network is all about, is you know, finding who's done it like that before and how can I adapt it.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
And a couple of examples from our hood. Moonee Ponds West is predominantly parent driven, and so is Strathmore Primary as well. Yeah, so you're not alone in having the parental involvement and the push from that element,
Okay,
that side. Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Are there any last questions before we wrap up today?
Sorry, I had a question. Kind of,
go Jackie.
Jackie, kind of the same as Louise, where we've just started and it is just the parents. There's 5 of us, and the school's quite big with over 500 students though. So does this ResourceSmart, like, does someone come in, or is it, you know, like even as an intro, or is it up to us to kind of break it down for them and say, don't worry about entering the bills, it's just for this and privacy, you know, and all that kind of stuff, all the concerns that they might have as we start to say, hey, can we have bills? Hey, can we have this? Because we don't have a school council that's kind of active. So this is the group now that's active in the school and is focusing on sustainability. And before we went up to the principal, so we met up with him last week, we approached different teachers, and we've got 2 teachers that are happy to run lunchtime meetings because they've done it in previous schools. We got buy-in from the parish as well, so that it's a whole community thing and not just the school. But yeah, just with the principal and the teachers, like you said, they're busy. So is there anyone that comes in, or is it more us kind of presenting to them that way?
Yeah, so Jackie, I'm the person that would come into school and facilitate a meeting between school leadership, yourself, and the person on staff that's going to lead ResourceSmart at the school. So that initial meeting introduces the program and, yeah, pretty much goes through the MOU, and we set plan in place depending on your priorities for the year, and get started so that everyone's on the same page from the start. And Jackie, which school are you coming from?
We're in Kings Park, so Resurrection Catholic Primary School. We just had our first meeting with the principal last week, and he asked for why we're want to do this and the aims, and they're pretty on board because we've already got action items for them to build a chicken coop with chickens and veggie patch, just upgrading that. So they seem to want to move quickly as well. But now looking through all these bills and trying to gather that baseline, you know, we're not really involved in all that kind of behind the scenes stuff. So I don't want to, I'm probably just bringing up concerns myself that they might say, they might not even worry about it, but just wanted to get on the front foot of that one.
Yeah, well, you've got my details. So once you're ready for that initial meeting, let me know.
Cool, okay.
I'll be there.
Jackie, I can say that from our school, we've got 700 kids, and the biggest issue the school had initially was giving us that data for privacy reasons. It was like,
see, that's what I was thinking.
So it's a really big one. Yeah.
And do you have a student action group already?
Yeah, we've got about 6 parents. Yeah.
And students as well in a group?
No, so we haven't got the student part of it combined yet, and that needed to come through the school. We wanted to get there, so get them on board. So we're getting there. It's just sort of a roundabout way, and I guess every school's probably doing it differently, I imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Did you sign an NDA or a confidentiality agreement with the school and saying that that data is solely used for this purpose?
Yeah.
That's a way that you could get them to give you that data.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we did actually do the MOU, Nicole, and I think that has a part in it, doesn't it? Yeah.
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 And I've entered bills at my kids' school, and all it took was the principal giving a verbal okay to the business manager to give it to me for that purpose. And then just emailed the bills to me from then on.
And if confidentiality or privacy is being used as an excuse not to enter bills, then you could ask the business manager themselves, or the principal could ask the business manager themselves to enter them, because it's really just figures that, you know, it's really just figures, and no one else has access to it except for your school
And me.
and you.
Yeah. All righty. Well, on behalf of the group, I'd like to thank you, Ellen, for a wonderful presentation and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Fabulous. And thank you all for coming today. I hope to see you at future events. We'll be in touch with the directory, the presentation, and perhaps the link to this recording, in case you've got other people at school that missed out on coming. They can tune in at their own leisure. So until next time, thanks everyone, and enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone, and good luck with your sustainability journeys.
Thanks, Ellen.